I think it doesn't go without saying that it's a great honour to be here this afternoon. Charles Brookfield, what can someone say when you have this incredible lineup of predecessors for lifetime awards, people that come to mind, like Dr. Kirker from the Taj Group, and Adrian Zecker from Amman Group. Larry Chu, most recently, also received a Lifetime Award, Achievement Award with Hyatt International. And now we have Charles Brookfield. So to say that it's remarkable, I think, Charles, would be an absolute understatement. And I just wanted to take a minute just to share a remarkable tribute to Charles, and everyone calls Charles Charlie. So I will start to just put this into one perspective for the audience, and that is that Charlie came here in 1997, 21 years ago, ruled from Hawaii, not originally from Hawaii, but from Boston, but worked as the EAM at the Aston Hotel in Hawaii. Came to Asia, didn't have the language, didn't have the networking, incredibly used his own life savings to support himself for a period of time. And what is described in some of the conversations that I've had with Charlie over the years is, 10 or 12 of probably the most, could be challenging, hectic years.
Crazy.
Crazy. And, he sort of has this ability to prove a point of never giving up. And that's why I think there's a great attribution today of why Charlie's getting this award. But that was 1997 in a time of crisis in Indonesia that we know. And to fast track, I'll just be very, very brief. A homegrown Indonesian brand that include Aston, Aston Inn, Fave, Neo, Quest, Harper, Ilana, Crimson, 135 hotels, I think something within the 70 to 80 of the largest hotel management groups globally. Now, if that isn't remarkable, I really don't know what is, Charles. And I just really, once again, I'm so proud to be a part of this award giving today. And we just wanted to sort of allow you some time. We only have 20 minutes. It's not a long time with that sort of history, but please allow us some time to listen to your story of how this all came about.
Well, Alex, thank you, and thank Manav and everyone for coming today. I want to share with you that when this was mentioned to me about receiving this award, I said, who, me? Because I don't really seek the spotlight. I don't really seek attention. My philosophy has always been to just focus on our business and just try to do the best job that we can. And as I shared with Alex, when I first came to Indonesia, my vision, my hope was to be able to build a company that managed about 35 to 40 hotels. And I never imagined we'd get to about 140 hotels here in Indonesia. The reason for that was because I came from Hawaii, where the peak of our company there was 35 hotels. So very simply, I thought, if I can come to another country and be able to replicate what we were able to achieve there, I'd feel like I had accomplished something. So being where we are today, with between 18 and 20,000 rooms and 140 properties, has been amazing. And like anything in life, we all have a vision, we have a drive, we have goals, but we can never really achieve them unless we assemble the right team around us. The same people who are going to share in our vision and our dreams and our aspirations. It takes that team to do it. So as much as I'm being honored here today, I really want to thank my team at Archipelago. And along the way, I know I want to say congratulations also to some of the folks on my team that are here. John Flood, who's the president and CEO. Norbert Voss, who's the vice president of business development. Eric, who's our director of marketing, Erica. And Pahiru Purwano is here as our VP of finance. So I want to thank all of them, really, or I wouldn't be here today. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Charlie. That's really, that's the sort of spirit and the sort of feedback that I've always heard of you, being a very warm, very caring, not only a founder, an owner, a contributor, but there's something else, that I think is really interesting. The fact that you had not the easiest of upbringings. You grew up as an orphan and you moved around quite a lot in various orphanages as well. And to move from that pace in your life through to who you are today, a family man, founder of a huge organization. Is there something that describes Charlie in just a couple of sentences?
A couple of sentences are difficult. I grew up in Boston, and I grew up in an environment there of, I guess, poverty is the right word. And if you come from an economic background where you have very little, you usually aspire to have that which you don't have. And you look around you and you see the people who are successful or who are achieving things, and you ask yourself the question, well, how did they get there? Or why did they get there? And that's really what happened to me when I was very young. And I was fortunate enough that I had a mentor who was actually a Jesuit priest in one of the orphanages I lived in. And he told me that if you sit around feeling sorry for yourself, you're never going to achieve anything in life. The only way to get ahead in life is to plan in a course of action and doggedly pursue it. So basically, my motto still is, have a dream, have a vision, and never give up. So I think that's what's brought us here today.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. And a time of crisis in 1997, Charlie, that's amazing. Why Indonesia?
Best of timing. Yeah, I had the brilliant insight that Archipelago here in Indonesia was on the verge of explosive growth, really. I believed in Indonesia's future. And I thought the very geographic makeup of Indonesia with the archipelago lent itself to such diversity for the hotel industry, both for leisure hotels and business hotels in principal cities, secondary, tertiary. So I thought Indonesia was an inevitable success story for the hotel industry. And I had the chutzpah to think that I could come out here without speaking the language, without knowing the culture, and build a company. But for 10 or 12 years, it didn't happen. It was very, very slow growth. And it was only when we finally decided as a team that we were going to hire our own architects and MEP planners, et cetera, and start designing our own hotels that we could basically market to developers, to the small developer who already owned 1,500, 2,000, 3,000 square meters of land, who wanted to get into the hotel industry but didn't know how to go about it. So we developed budget brands to make an offering to them, and explain to them all the, basically, budget hotel in a box. It was very simple. So even though the panelist earlier today was talking about the future of the hotel industry being into more niche hotels or more unique experiences, but for a lot of the traveling public, what they need is the basics, the dependable, a clean hotel, well-maintained, comfortable, et cetera, but at a very affordable price. And so we saw that as an opportunity for us in Indonesia is to develop the Fave and the Neo brands. So we designed them, we did all the MEP, the budgeting, the buyout list, and everything to make it as easy as possible for a developer and investor to say, I'd like a hotel, I don't know how to build one, I don't know how to go about it, can you make it easy for me? And that's what we've done.
Well, you certainly did that for a lot of Indonesian owners who probably would never have had that opportunity without you, Charlie, because to build that dream as a hotelier when you have no hotel experience whatsoever, they reached out to you. And how did you create that dream? What was the fundamentals of that success?
I think we had approached a number of developers who were focused really on building 4- and 5-star hotels. And John and I actually started pitching them on the idea of diversifying their portfolio into hotels that required a smaller investment but had a faster return on investment because of a higher rate of profitability. And that actually triggered not only several of our larger owners to want to take that route, but apparently they started sharing it with their friends who were interested in building hotels but didn't have the capital to build a proper 5-star hotel or a 4-star hotel. And that led a number of smaller businessmen to come to us and say, well, I've had a dream, I'd like to own a hotel, and I understand that you might be able to help me do it. And that's how it really took off.
Okay, so anyone out there who wants a dream, please see Charlie after this. So if we talk about really the beginning, Aston was really the, if you like, that was the leading brand to fame for you, Charles. So tell me something about Aston. I mean, why that name Aston? It's sort of...
Well, it was a brand actually that we brought out of Hawaii to Indonesia. And it was based really on the initials of the owner of the company in Hawaii. And his first 3 initials were AST. And we very simply said, what would be a good ending to AST? Astin, Aston, Astra, and finally we thought of Aston. And at that point, the only Astons I had ever heard about was the Aston Martin car and the Aston Villa football team. So we said, it sounds like Sheraton, it sounds like Hilton. It's very simplistic reasoning at the time to come up with the name Aston, but it worked.
I think it's fascinating to think of a luxury car. It's a great one. Charlie, there is another part of your success as well, and something that probably a lot of people aren't aware of, but yes, Indonesia has been an incredible part of your life, but there's also another country that is also very close to you. And the reason I share this story is I giggle a little bit when you've mentioned to me in the past that when you came to Indonesia, like nobody really wanted you. Nobody really wanted your brand, and you didn't really have the experience, and you did it hard, but you had this never give up. Now, apparently, a similar situation occurred in the Philippines. Could you share that story with us?
Sure, I'd love to. At the same time I came here to Indonesia to set up our company here, I actually set up a company in the Philippines. And when the economic crisis hit, I realized with limited capital, I had to focus on one country, so I focused on Indonesia. But I always had the dream and desire to return to the Philippines and try to build a company there. But every time I went to a large Filipino developer and they said, well, what brand do you have? I said, I have Aston. And they all looked at me like, I've never heard of Aston. And quickly I realized unless I had a global brand, the developers there were not interested. So about 12, 15 years later, after John and I had built Archipelago up to a pretty reasonable size, we thought we'd try again in the Philippines. So we went to one of the largest Philippine companies there, Philinvest, and we bid on one project they had in Mactan with their CEO, Mrs. Yap. So John and I flew over, stayed in the hotel, went to do a presentation, and maybe 10 minutes into the presentation, Mrs. Yap said, please stop. I'm not interested in hiring a management company. If I wanted to hire a management company, I could hire Hilton, Hyatt, Sheraton, etc. I don't need to hire your small company from Indonesia. She said, however, what I am interested in, if you're willing to do this, is I'd like to find someone with a lot of experience in the hotel industry who've actually built hotels and run hotels, whether they're 2-star or 5-star hotels, to work with me on building our own management company. So John and I were sitting there, and I came to that meeting with no intention of forming a joint venture management company with anyone. But I always remember one of the things I learned in school, which is always try to find a way to say yes to someone. Don't say no. So my first thought was, when she asked would I consider a joint venture, my thought was, yes, I'd consider it. And then the more we talked about it, the more it sounded like a great idea, and we pursued it. And today we have 5 hotels operating, another 10 in development, and all of them are being built by Philinvest, and we're jointly managing it. We've created a joint venture management company together.
Fantastic.
So it's gone really wonderful.
Wonderful. Congratulations. And we talk about people, and I know people are a big part of your life, and we heard it with the earlier panel, how important management is in our organisations and our industry. But I'm sure you have a lot of war stories as well to share with us, but we only have another few more minutes. But I did want to sort of ask you, Charlie, like in terms of a zero to hero story of someone within your organisation over the last 21 years in Indonesia, is there a person like that that exists?
Well, I don't think he would like me to say he started at 0, but probably someone who exemplifies what I think all of us who build companies and try to attract and recruit talented people and then create an environment to allow them to grow. Several years ago, we had a project in Toraja. We thought we had a project in Toraja, and the owner of the hotel said, before I hire your company, I need you to send a chef to handle a wedding that was going to take place for, I don't know if it was 3,000 or 5,000 people. And I'm thinking, I have no chef who could possibly handle that. But I was introduced to John Flood, and John Flood was just finishing up getting his master's. And so I chatted with John. I said, John, do you think you could go over as a chef and handle this huge wedding event? And he said, sure, why not? It's another new experience, I'll do it. So he went off to do it, handled it fabulously well. And as he told me, in fact, the one-day event turned into a 3-day event that included cooking for thousands of people, not only for dinner, but for lunch and breakfast and everything else. So after that was all over, he came back and he said it was a great experience. And I thought, my God, you must be a little bit crazy that you can go throw yourself into something like that in the mountains and come back and say you had a great time of it. So when he finished graduating and getting his master's, he and I were chatting at Starbucks. I'll put a plug in for Starbucks, one of my favorite places to have informal meetings. And I started chatting about how I could really use someone like him on my team, but how little I could afford to pay. So it turned out that John ended up joining the company, and I didn't know it at the time, but my offer, which was the maximum I could afford, was actually less money than he was making at the time while he was studying for his MBA. But he joined the group, did a fantastic job, and today John is the president and CEO of the company. So wow. I don't think John would say it's 0 to hero, but I think it's an amazing
So John, you didn't
story.
really start as the dishwasher, but remarkable effort. Yeah. That's really fantastic. Well, look, we only have a couple of minutes just as a final wrap-up, and as I mentioned earlier, I think the incredible vision that Charlie has given to so many in the industry is really worthy of this amazing accomplishment and this incredible award that he's going to receive in a minute. We're going to show a video in a second, but just before we do that, I think something that triggers to mind one last thought is that Charlie has been a very loyal family man, and his kids have done extremely well. Jules, who's also the Vice President of Technology, is not here today, but it's great to see that his legacy will certainly live on, and under the leadership of John and Norbert and Eric and the team, I know that Archipelago will continue to be an amazing success story, certainly in our generation. And the words of inspiration of Charles Brookfield when he says, never give up, when nobody ever had the feeling of ability to decide on using him or using his company or whatever it was that he was pitching for, he always had this, could never do it. It never said I could never do it. And I think what you thought you would never, you said to your kids, I never thought that I would be here where I am today with so many hotels and such an incredible workforce that love working for you. Well, today, Charles Brooks, that possibility has come true because you are now, in 22 seconds from now, you're going to receive a beautiful award that you are very worthy of. Let us just see a video just prior to that award.
Thank you very much, Alex. I've been asked to say a few words about myself and my initial vision for coming to Indonesia. I thought I'd start off by saying 21 years ago, I think most of the world was focused on China as the great new economic power in emerging country of economic consequence. However, I went against the trend a bit, and I was looking at the archipelago of Indonesia as being a great opportunity for a new hotel management company to evolve. So I actually chose 21 years ago to come to Indonesia because I saw the country as a burgeoning population, a growing middle class, and a dynamic economy that would lend itself to expansive growth in the hotel industry. What I envisioned initially was that Indonesia would experience, like many places in the United States had, and Australia, a explosive growth in condominium, apartment, service department development, and strata title hotels. However, my vision was a bit premature. 21 years ago, it really didn't happen as I expected. Instead, it took another 10 or 12 years for that to evolve and unfold as I had originally thought it might. And in the interim, what I had not anticipated was the growth of properties in the limited service and select service marketplace. Because initially when I came to Indonesia, the dominant star hotels were 4- and 5-star hotels. Since that time, I think as all of you know, there's been tremendous growth in the middle market hotels in the 2- and 3-star category, and that's come about for several reasons. I think primarily it's come about because of the growth in the population and the economic general boom that's gone on, as well as the introduction of economy airlines or budget airlines and the increase in domestic travel. Domestic travel has increased dramatically in the past 15 years, and in particular having 2- and 3-star properties to stay at allows for a much more affordable experience for people and has broadened the marketplace tremendously. So Archipelago International, I think, has been at the forefront of introducing 2- and 3-star properties. Our Fave brand, our Neo brand have been incredibly popular, and since we've introduced it, we have nearly 50 Fave properties and 25 Neo properties, and I envision we'll have many more to come. Anyway, that's just a quick word from me. I was told to limit myself to 3 minutes, and I think I've gone a little bit over 3 minutes, but thanks for listening. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Alex. Congratulations. Very good job.
Thank you.
No, I don't. I'll just say thank you. Oops.
Thanks.
I guess I have to carry this. Do I need this, or I can just talk out of this, right?
No, you're good.
Anyway, they asked me if I had any more words to say, and that's like giving a microphone to a karaoke singer. In my case, I can't sing, but I love to talk. But I won't punish you anymore with anything further to say except thank you all very much for this honor and for coming. And I was sharing earlier with Manav that attending today's conference has actually brought back to mind why attending these kinds of conferences are so valuable to us. And I had indicated to my team that I think we should be more involved in the future. So thank you all very much, and I appreciate it. Manav, thank you. So I bring it over there. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Do join us for lunch. We're going to be going to the second floor.